Thanks for tuning in to Twang and Bang. Magpul's windowed PMAGs have been my favorite magazines for some time. I just really like having the window, and of course I like polymer mags. Well, when they announced that they were coming out with their Gen M3 window version, I was pretty excited to get my hands on one to test. Of course, between the recent increase in demand for magazines in general, as well as Magpul's fight with their home state of Colorado, they were delayed quite a bit in getting these into the hands of the consumers. Well, they're finally here, and I finally got a chance to test out the Gen M3 windowed PMAG. And that's what's coming up next on Twang and Bang. The new Gen M3 windowed PMAG in the middle looks like it's a cross between the Gen M3 non-windowed PMAG on the left and the Gen 2 windowed PMAG on the right, just as you would expect. It has all the outward dimensions and features of the Gen M3 PMAGs, but the window is in the same place and used the same way as the Gen 2 windowed PMAGs. The Gen M3 PMAGs take apart just as easily as the Gen 2 PMAGs, though the magazine base slides off the rear of the Gen M3 mags where it slides off the front of the Gen 2 mags. Here you can see that there are significant differences between the followers and the spring bases of the Gen M3 versus the Gen 2 mags. However, the springs are the same length, they appear to be the same gauge, and they are marked in exactly the same way, giving you the same indication of round count between the two different generations of magazines. The most significant difference is the material that the Gen M3 PMAGs are made of as opposed to the Gen 2 mags. This makes the M3s even more resistant to crushing, cracking, and temperature changes than the Gen 2 mags. I began my ammo testing as usual with Silver Bear steel-cased zinc-plated ammo. This is the cheap stuff that I use. It's not as slick as brass, and this added friction can make certain magazines harder to load. It also can reduce the reliability of certain magazines. I've yet to have a problem with this ammo in my Gen 2 mags, and I found that this mag, as with the other Gen M3 mags, loaded up just fine as well. PMAGs are known for being easy to load on a closed bolt, even when full, and the windowed Gen M3 mag is no different. And push-pull method, no problem. Mag drops free. Typical Magpul. No problems. Man, that handguard is getting hot. Woo! It's that Noveski NSR. That is freaking hot. A common way for mags to get damaged in the field is when you drop your body weight on them or you drop your gear down and the mags are underneath the weight of your gear. So I thought I'd try and simulate that by taping a magazine to my knee and then dropping my knee forcefully down onto it into these rocks. I repeated this 2 more times before loading up the mag. As you can see in this clip that I actually used in the beginning of this video, I didn't have any problems whatsoever. There really was very little visible damage to the mag after doing that. After getting home from the range that day and viewing the footage, I just wasn't satisfied that that was enough of a test to see if the windows are actually a weak point to these mags. So I'm piling up rocks so they stick up right where I'm going to put the window, and I am going to run over this mag. That was a nasty sound, but as you'd expect, the mag body itself was fine, but the window was also fine. Though there's obvious gouging and scratches on the mag and the window, the two stayed together and there are no cracks. Still in great shape. Not really surprising to me, but the magazine loaded up just fine. There was no indication of any internal changes. No problem. None at all. I guess we've come to expect those kind of results from PMAGs, which I think is a good thing, and the windowed Gen M3 PMAG doesn't disappoint. It's pretty clear that the window itself is not a failure point at any reasonable level of stress that you're going to put a magazine through. So tactically, you're not going to be at a disadvantage for having a window. For me, I think the benefit of a window comes from how I use a magazine on the range or organizing my mags after a day of shooting. Tactically, there might be an advantage, but I'm not even worried about that when I decide to buy a magazine. I really like the windows for the way it facilitates my shooting when I'm just practicing, when I'm just training. And that's enough for me to justify the extra cost of the window. Of course, if you're scraping your money together to just get 30-round magazines, you don't need to be spending money on getting the windows. Just buy more magazines. But I'm fortunate in a position that I can spend a little extra and still get as many magazines as I feel that I need. And that's why I decided to go with the windowed PMAGs when I can. If you want to learn more about the Gen M3 windowed PMAGs from Magpul, be sure to click the link in the video description below. If you like this video, please take the time to log into YouTube and click the like button. Now more than ever, YouTube needs to know that you like firearms-oriented programming. Be sure to click right here to subscribe so you can catch my next videos on bows, guns, and other cool stuff. I really appreciate you watching Twang and Bang, and I hope to see you next time.